I'm not even gonna lie to you. I knew this movie was gonna suck the second I started the damn movie. I knew it was gonna suck the second I saw the damn thumbnail on Disney Plus with Don Knotts screaming at a mule. Greetings, programs. Welcome to Final Thoughts video number 3. This is my weekly recap video where I get to share my unfiltered thoughts on the Disney movies I did intro videos for this week. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it. Treasure of Matecumbe. 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 The film has a very catchy theme song. The film follows two Kentucky boys in pursuit of treasure once they get a hold of a treasure map, and they are being pursued by men who also want the map. And it's based off a book by Robert Louis Taylor, and if the book is anything like the film, it has very heavy Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn vibes going on here. What's striking right off the bat is that this movie is definitely like a chase movie. It's set up like a chase movie where the opening shot is someone running, and within 10 minutes we have the setup, we have the treasure map. We already have someone dead by the first 10 minutes, so there's that. But it's almost structured like an episodic way, which each little mini adventure, they corral someone else to help them along in their journey. And I will say the characters are a lot of fun, and they definitely help propel the story forward, even when the story constantly wants to stop and smell the roses every single chance it gets. It seems like anytime the film gains any sort of momentum, it wants to immediately slow down again and do almost like a complete detour into something else. That includes like a full 5-minute scene where they're dancing with these guys on the river, and then there's a scene where the boys interrupt a lynching by the KKK. That was weird. Let's talk about that for a second. Yeah, at one point this film has a scene with the KKK and they're lynching and they're about to hang a man. They're in their uniforms, and it felt very strange because the film in its nature is very lighthearted and it takes this very dark turn all of a sudden. I know at the time of this film being produced, Disney wasn't as careful with their brand as they are now, but even then this felt very out of place and a little out of touch. I don't know, it felt weird, and it felt like the film could have easily done something else to introduce this character that they save into the film without having this weird set piece centered around that scene. I have to note the cinematography. Frank P. Phillips was on camera again. He, if you watched Final Thoughts number 2, was the cinematographer on Witch Mountain. I just praise cinematography on that film. And here it showcased again. He has a very different approach to moving the camera. There's a lot of wider shots, a lot of different angles going on, and the scenes, especially the scenes on the river, are gorgeously shot. They are wonderfully shot until we cut to medium and close-up shots of them on the boat where they are using screen processing or rear projection technology, which is essentially, you have a screen behind the actors and there's a scene being projected behind them and they just act in front of it. And it felt so strange because you have all this beautiful photography going on, and then you cut to this weird artificial shot. It takes you out of just the enjoyment of it all. And I'm really confused why they just didn't go about shooting scenes on the boat, especially when they were already on location anyway, shooting these scenes with the actors in these wide shots. It felt super manufactured, and they even used it again in the hurricane scenes at the end of the film. But at least those scenes were shot at night, so you don't notice it as much. The hurricane scene in general, though, was super cool because you just see all this water being blasted on the actors, and most of the actors, if you heard, Peter Ustinov was injured on the set of that scene. Though they are just getting drenched and just getting gallons upon gallons of just water blasted at them. And it looked like a crazy time in the film. It pulled off the effect of being in a hurricane very well, though. Treasure Matecumbe is a mixed bag because the treasure hunt and the hunt for this treasure isn't really all that important. You really don't care about these boys trying to save their plantation in Kentucky and whatnot. You don't really have any attachment to them. You're just kind of there to kind of see what the treasure's about. But when the film does get adventurous, it does definitely get adventurous. And I did prefer most of the back half more than I did the first half of the film. It's just too long. It's at 2 hours, and I feel like 20 minutes could have easily been chopped off somewhere in the film. I give it a 6 out of 10. It's fine, but you can find better adventure films on Disney Plus, I'm sure. So let's talk about the Apple Dumpling Gang. The film's marketing centers around Tim Conway and Don Knotts, and they are very much like the Harry and Marv of thieving cowboys. But the film's not really about them. It's actually about this gambler who comes into this California town. I think it's California, who cares? And somehow while playing poker, he gets conned into winning the ownership of 3 orphans. Is that how that works? Is that how ownership gets passed? Just easily as playing poker? And it said early on that these orphans have the right to an abandoned gold mine. There was never any gold that produced there. We already know where that's going to lead in the story. But he spends the majority of this film trying to trade, sell, or even marry his way out of being the guardian for these orphans. Usually in front of the orphans, he's doing these deals. And it just, it felt weird. And anytime we're not dealing with that, we have Tim Conway and Don Knotts in these weird, long physical comedy set pieces that don't drive the story forward. It's just that the comedy feels dated and a little stale. It might just be me setting my expectations too high, because I love Don Knotts. I love Tim Conway from the Carol Burnett Show. Don Knotts obviously from Andy Griffith. But the two together should have had some sort of comedy magic to it. The fact is, more often than not, Harry Morgan, who tends to slide into these scenes and slide out, tends to have the bigger laugh out of anyone in the film. And I've grown to love Harry Morgan in almost every single Disney film that he's been in so far. And the problem with a film like The Apple Dumpling Gang is that you can see the Disney comedy formula spinning its wheels. And it's just stuck in neutral and it isn't going anywhere. It's not offending anyone. It's just kind of exists. And it's a shame, especially when the film comes right off the heels of Escape the Witch Mountain, which was everything that The Apple Dumpling Gang is not. I give it a 4 out of 10. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world, but there's not much here to recommend to anyone. So we finally move on into Gus. And if The Apple Dumpling Gang was the Disney comedy formula in neutral, Gus is 5 miles down the road in reverse. And I have it right here. It is about a Yugoslavian mule who gets drafted by a failing NFL team as their star field goal kicker. Yep. I'm not even going to lie to you. I knew this movie was going to suck the second I started the damn movie. I knew it was going to suck the second I saw the damn thumbnail on Disney Plus with Don Knotts screaming out a mule. I just wanted to be surprised, though. I've been surprised a couple of times already in this marathon, and if there was ever a film to surprise me, it would be Gus, and it met expectations. I wasn't surprised at all. But there is already enough data in this marathon to prove that the comedy formula can work. This just wasn't it. Gus just has that aura that the film itself just doesn't want to exist. And that kind of trickles down into the actors who all look either bored or know the material sucks. And then that laziness also goes back to the direction. I don't know why. This movie confuses me, because I did my research and all this production was talking about is how they got permission from the NFL to shoot in these stadiums and do all this cool stuff with the NFL license, but they still decided to shoot the close-up shots on the sidelines with rear projection technology, and that baffles the hell out of me. You have a real scene on a real football field with a mule kicking a stupid football 100 yards away, then you cut away to actors Ed Asner and Don Knotts on the sidelines on a studio set cheering and reacting to something that they have no idea what they're watching. It is just the most bizarre thing on the planet, and it does not gel at all. It frustrated me every single time they did it, and they did it constantly. Like, this movie is nothing but a montage of football scenes with cutaway shots of a sideline that doesn't exist anywhere. And what is even more frustrating is that Don Knotts, who is on every single piece of marketing material for this film, isn't even in the damn film for that long. He has about 30 lines of dialogue. They're all throwaway dialogue. You can barely hear him because he's mumbling half of it. And he just disappears. He's in a role that's remotely, utterly useless. If you took that role out of the movie, there would be no impact on the movie whatsoever. And that, once again, just confused the hell out of me when it's clearly Ed Asner's movie. And he was already big at the time as well. Mary Tyler Moore was a big hit. He won a few Emmys already. So I don't know why the focus wasn't on Ed Asner, who was easily the best comedy part of the film as well. 1 out of 10. If you ever see it pop up on Disney Plus, laugh at it, point at it, and then skip past. So that's it. Those are my final thoughts. If you have been following along in the marathon, what did you think of the films I've discussed this week? Was Gus the greatest movie ever and I'm just not getting it? Should lynching be in Disney films? Do you like or dislike when they say the damn movie title in the film? Let me know down below in the comments. If you liked the video, please give it a like as well, and please consider subscribing. Until next time, next week, thanks so much. End of line.